I enjoyed talking with Tracy Flewelling.
I know, it was fun to hear her again, and she's had some good stories just from, it was like only a year since we talked to her.
And you practiced her name very well, so that
yes,
not the one Tracy, it's the other one.
Yeah, it's Tracy, not Stacy, and
that's because we were down here all week, and that's how he's been saying.
Did you enjoy the pizzas I slid under the door?
Yes, very much so.
I forgot to cook.
My favorite was the pineapple one.
Yes,
I know. We had to fight who would get more pieces on that one.
Do you know what I thought was very remarkable is just how she runs this woodworking business, including the companies that sell international, all by herself, and she does like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll hear more about that tonight.
One lady shop.
One lady shop. We're back with Tracy. She was with us last week. She's zooming in from Zoom.
She kept her Zoom on the whole week.
The whole week, yeah, from Maine.
You two lived in the basement for a week.
Yeah, we talked the whole week.
We talked the whole week.
So now we're tired of talking to her.
I'm a little bit hoarse from all the talking.
And to all our viewers, as you can see, these gentlemen only have one set of clothes apparently, so if you can send them some clothes.
That's right. We need all the...
She only left to take Mary out.
Yeah, that's right. How's Mary doing, by the way? How's your dog?
Amazing. She's still doing good. It's been 726 days ago that the vet said she will not live very long, and she's still living. She's
outliving the experts. I love it.
Yeah, they forgot to tell her that, so we're good with that.
And just so I can, in case people haven't seen any of the other episodes, Tracy wrote a book detailing her journey with her husband Neil, who had esophageal cancer and eventually passed away. And so some of the, I've gotten permission to talk with Tracy about some of the things she's learned on the other side of that experience. And one of them that we talked about that I was totally clueless is the idea of a comfort bird. And I absolutely knew nothing about comfort birds until I talked to you in pre-production. Does your company make them? And tell us about the idea of a comfort bird.
Okay. Well, I have to step back to, as I mentioned last week, Neil's father, my father-in-law, passed away in October. And my father-in-law carved birds. He competed at the world level and won. So he was a very talented bird carver, and he belonged to a wood carving group. And one of the things I've been doing, I'm a single woman in a male-dominated business, which is I have no complaint about. But it tends to be more men that are running woodworking shops. And so I'm looking for safe places to get information, safe places to talk shop. So there's a woodworking group that meets in Bangor, which is an hour away. That's been really wonderful for me. I've been going and learning about table saws and routers and safety and, stuff. Well, when Dad passed away, I was thinking, I should go to his wood carving group, because that's another group of really upstanding men in the industry, that I know, and I could pick up some tips about bandsawing and stuff. And so I decided to go to the wood carving meeting. And so when I got there, they were very, very kind gentlemen, and, we sat down and, we're talking. And at one point, one of the guys said, "So why are you here? Like, do you want to carve birds?" And I said, "Well, no, I actually don't want to carve birds. I want a safe place to, learn more about woodworking." And so as the meeting went on, they said to me, "Well, if you're here, you ought to try something. Just try it and see what you think of it. And a really easy thing to do, a great place to start, is to carve a comfort bird." And so they gave me all the information about how to find it. And so this week I started carving a comfort bird, and I'm telling you, it is not very comforting. I don't know if I can do this or not, So, but there's a lot of information online, about patterns and things that you can do. But I've got to show up next month with a comfort bird in some stage, and I would not even begin to show you what I have because it does not look like a bird. But I'm just beginning,
Yeah. So my understanding is that these are carvings of a bird that primarily fit in your hand, so they're not super huge. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, and they're smooth finish. They're supposed to be for. I think they give them to people under distress or in distress, or possibly people in nursing homes where they can. It's comforting to hold them, and maybe it is comforting to hold them when they're done, but it is not comforting to hold them when they're getting done.
Sure. So almost like a squeezy thing, something in your hand that somehow gives you a positive emotion. Yeah, that's cool. Let's just change it just a touch and talk about... you've mentioned this when we've communicated about you've been through a lot and yet finding some degree of contentment. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I am now at the point of, I've been a widow for 5 years, and I don't know, there's something about the 5-year mark where you go, okay, 5 years, now what are we going to do? And there's that feeling of, what am I going to do? And I don't know, I'm not sure if I can express, it's interesting. Contentment is not something that, I think it's very underrated. And I think that for a lot of people, contentment seems like giving up or not trying harder. To achieve, to win, But contentment, to me, part of that journey has been, this is a life that God's arranged for me. I do believe that He's sovereign, over my life and the circumstances. And there's a peace in saying, okay, things aren't just exactly like I want them, but I can trust my God in how He's arranged my circumstances. Not saying that I won't try to make them better, but it takes away some of the striving when things aren't going your way. It's a little bit hard to explain.
Yeah, I'll bring in another idea that you brought up a year ago, and that is, I think part of contentment is also choosing to practice gratitude. And I know gratitude's a buzzword, but there really is something to that.
Yeah.
Didn't you have...
It changes your perspective.
Huh? Didn't you have a gratitude notebook where you wrote down what you were thankful for every day?
Yeah.
Can you describe
that?
Can you describe it to the audience who didn't see the first 2 shows?
Oh, yeah. It's an idea that came about from a book a friend had given me about just like looking and seeing the gifts that God gives you in life. And it can be as simple as a hug or a smile or, having a breakthrough. That would be a big one, seeing a breakthrough or whatever. And so, for me, oftentimes, every day, another day with Mary I consider that a gift, especially since she's on borrowed time. But I find that it's really helpful for me to, each morning I kind of think back on the previous day and, what happened and what were the gifts and just jot them down. And occasionally, look back a few pages or look back a few books because I've been doing it for a long time. And it takes you back in a good way, I think we can win or lose the battle by where we let our brains stay. And I'm not saying, there are a lot of hard things in life. And I'm not saying, let's just pretend to be happy. But I don't care where you are, you can find something good.
Yeah.
And really helpful to focus on that. Maybe that's the word I want to use, to focus on the good, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, not only doing that, but when you can look back and say, oh, and then you'll say, oh, I remember that, and I've forgotten that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something written down like that. I think that's really a neat idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that and you can comment on this when we come back from the break, that sometimes people think like contentment is almost like a state of fatigue, or where you're not doing anything, and yet there are things we can do very actively, whether it's choosing to forgive, bringing gratitude to our mind, simple things that we have total control over that make a huge difference. So I'll let you think about that thought for a comment, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter. There is Doug.
Still awake, but
struggling with the clapper. And we have Tracy, our special guest from Maine.
I'm 1 for 2. Last week I was perfect.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I'm just really excited that you didn't break it this week.
And that could, that segment where the clip's going on, you don't normally see it. It may appear in the episode.
I hope so. Yeah, on the blooper reel.
Audio 1.
Yep.
Audio 2.
Yep.
Camera mic on.
Yep.
Camera red light on.
Yep.
Third chair. Oh, second time I've done that. Third chair.
Stacy.
Tracy episode.
Stacy, Tracy.
Segment 7. 7.
Well, when we left off, Tracy,
my prompter gave me the wrong name too.
Oh yeah. I said say Stacy, but
yeah. You're setting them up for failure.
I've got issues. I don't deny it. So we threw an idea, and I just want you to think about it, that sometimes we think of contentment coming by default almost. And I was pointing out, what do you think of the idea, you can actively do things without striving to be content. And I threw out the idea, well, maybe just forgiving somebody or actively practicing gratitude. What do you think about that? And would you add anything to that list?
Yeah. Well, kind of to step back for a minute, I had said that I think, contentment is underrated. I think that you would find for a lot of people, the goal is more, better, faster, more, better, faster. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the drive of the world. And contentment is, you can make a change, you can make a difference, etc. But there are some things that are beyond our control, like the 7,000 earthquakes in Turkey last month. That nobody had any control over that. I mean, you live in Turkey and you want to try and have contentment. You cannot have contentment to do anything with the earthquakes. Mm-hmm. You can only function in the place that you are and do the best you can where you are. And that's like I don't know anybody personally that has that level of tragedy here in America. There's tragedy everywhere, but I don't personally know anybody that's living in those circumstances. So that's a real extreme example. But I was just thinking, contentment is functioning in circumstances you have absolutely no control over, but still having peace of mind and contentment. And so, yes, forgiving someone, having a gratitude list. making a difference in someone's life, you know, and which can be a real small thing. Yeah, I agree. I think that's.
Yeah, I would add to that perhaps having a sense of purpose. You know, why you're alive today, and it doesn't have to be anything grand, but still getting up with a sense of, I have something that is important to do, or I feel called to do, and I'm going to go do it. That sort of fits into it as well.
It does, definitely. And, you know, things can happen. I remember when, right after Neil passed away, you know, and I was no longer Neil's wife, I was like, I have no purpose. Well, no, that wasn't true. It's just that my purpose had changed.
Yeah.
But those days before I realized that my purpose had changed, those were tough days, you know, to function. And so, yeah, you know, to have a purpose. I will say this: because my work situation, you know, I'm the only one working in the shop, and there are days where I don't see anybody, I don't see another human being, and I might not even have, you know, text or call contact. And then I'll have other days that are very full with people. And I find that my gift list, when I look back on a day, is much longer on the days that I have a lot of people contact.
Okay.
Because relationships are really what matter. I mean, it is really great that I finally got my drawer slide system working and I know what to do, and that will show up on my gift list. But I find that the more people contact I have, the more I interact with people, the more gifts I have. And I just think it's because people and relationships, they really do matter.
Sure. One last thought on this, and then we'll be flipping back to Doug. How do you feel about the idea of viewing mistakes we make in life primarily as learning opportunities?
Okay, now, so you're saying, do I think that mistakes are learning opportunities? Is that what you're?
Well, some people view mistakes more like I have personally failed,
I see.
as opposed to reframing.
Not learning, we learned something.
Yeah, as opposed to reframing, like, okay, I didn't win X, Y, or Z, or what I tried to do didn't work out. But rather than looking at it as a failure, I look at it as a chance to learn and grow.
Yeah, definitely. I have a friend here who says when a mistake happens, he says, "Well, that didn't work out like I thought. Let's try again." You know, and I think about, isn't it Thomas Edison said, "I didn't fail making a light bulb 1,000 times. I figured out 999 ways to knock the light bulb."
Yeah,
the light bulb didn't work.
I do believe that. And the things that I do, the technical things, the physical things I do in my business, I'm just like, I keep doing it wrong until I finally figure out how to do it right, you know. And that's a little bit tougher relationally when you make mistakes. But I will say that I have found just coming clean and saying, "Wow, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to come out like that," or whatever, sure does go a long way in building a bridge. And just being, I think people appreciate transparency and honesty. That's one of the things I really love about my brother Doug, is he is transparent, and I love it, when we talk and he's just really honest about his mistakes. That's worth quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes.
My theory is, if you're not making a mistake every day, you're not trying.
Or not doing anything.
We're going to do a whole episode just listing Peter's mistakes.
That'll be a very short episode.
There's mistake one.
8 hours and 20 minutes later.
The marathon series.
You, Doug, if we're not making mistakes, then we're probably not doing much.
Yeah, not living life at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So last time you were on the show, we discussed your book. Is that still on sale?
It is still on sale. Yeah.
So
I have not. It's not. Not selling like hotcakes, but there have been several people that have asked, and they would have to contact me directly. It's not like out there on Amazon where you can purchase it. I haven't taken that step, but it is available if someone would want it. Yeah.
And that book talked about your dealing with Neil's passing and when he passed and some afterwards. Yeah. And I highly would recommend that book to anybody who's dealing with a situation like that because it gave a lot of good advice and it was very well done.
Thank you.
And some little things that you don't think about are in that book. Have you gone back and reread the book?
I have. Yeah, I have because someone purchased it and then messaged me about it, and I was like, what did I say? And I did go back, and it's kind of like going back and reading my gift list. It takes me right back to where I was. It's just good.
When we come back, we'll discuss what surprised you the most and what made you think the most when you reread the book.
Oh dear. Okay.
Hi, Peter and Doug here from The Third Chair. We're looking for a win-win situation. We want to keep these videos put up on a weekly basis, and we want to help you succeed with your business adventure.
And we've brought up as a show a lot of important issues that people are interested in, and we brought up a lot of local actors and artists and bringing them forward, which helps them as well as our audience members in finding some of these things.
So there is an email on the screen. Send us a note if you're interested in knowing about some of our sponsorship packages.
Okay, we're talking about Tracy's book, and she went and reread it, and I just basically looking for, did you get any new impressions when you're looking at this book and said, oh.
I did. Something that was really surprising to me, there's a chapter on, so what did I fill my days with in the time when, that first year that Neil was gone, and I kind of talked about a lot of, tough things that I did that I did not, I don't know. I guess what surprised me is that in general, my overall demeanor when I'm doing challenging things is better because I've had so much practice doing stuff I've never done before and struggling through it, and it is, it's just hard, and so overall I would say I'm like, oh, okay, I can see some change in me and how I react and how I process and and how I go to God for help. But I got to tell you today, I don't know if you guys remember we talked about throwing wrenches when we were together before, that Neil used to, if he got mad, he'd throw wrenches, and I used to think, oh, maybe he shouldn't do that. And now that, I'm doing stuff, I'm like, I'm all in for the wrench throwing.
Neil's probably up there laughing.
Yeah. So, overall, I think, okay, I'm making progress. But today I had to fix something stupid that I did yesterday. I had glued a drawer front onto a drawer for this table I'm making, and after I got it all perfectly glued, it slipped and I didn't notice. And so today when I was fitting the drawer in to the table, I'm like, that's crooked. What is going on? And instead of thinking about the drawer front, I thought, well, maybe it's my drawer slide system, and and was like working at it, like trying to change this and that, and I happened to take the drawer out and look and see how crooked it was. So I had to knock and I glued it really good and left it overnight. So I had to knock the front of the drawer off, the drawer, and it broke the drawer, and I had to fix the drawer, got it all fixed. And I'm telling you, when I was gluing that drawer front on, everything was going wrong, and I was so mad. I was just like, I wanted a wrench to throw. It was just like the most frustrating thing. And so I find it interesting to, you kind of read back that first year and trying to do vinyl siding by myself and, fixing the lawnmower, reattaching the this or the that, and to say, you think, oh, yeah, I'm doing okay. And then you have something like that come along and you're like, oh, man, I'm like, I think I'm 2 years old and I'm going to act like it.
Well, sometimes we all have to go back to our toddler years.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And you were throwing wrenches in your heart.
If Mary hadn't been laying so close by, I was going to throw a clamp or two. I was just like, I just couldn't do anything right. In the end, I did get it glued on, and it's like pretty good, but I was just, oh my goodness.
Well, here's a suggestion. Put up a big wooden target and get yourself either some throwing knives or tomahawks. And when you're feeling frustrated, you can just let them rip.
Yeah.
A lot of those probably.
Yeah, or perhaps a crossbow.
Wow, you really want
Possibly,
the weapons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you thinking of writing another book?
Well, I kind of am. I have one in process. I thought it would be kind of fun to write a book about, to take all my gifts, my list of gifts, and write a book. It's not something that everybody would want to read, but anybody that knew me would find it interesting. And I actually have got, loaded into the software, got all the gifts listed and pictures and everything. But I got up to the time up when Neil got sick. It was like, it's over 1,000, over 1,000 gifts listed in there. And it got to the part where Neil got sick, and it was just too sad for me at that time. And so I just put it aside. But I think that I might be able to go back now, because it's really quite fun, to, list a gift and think, oh, I've got a picture of that. I took a picture of that because it was so good, and find the gift and look. So I'm thinking about that, but I don't know. It might take a while, and I don't know. I probably wouldn't do them all because I've got a pretty long gift list. So
you might pick out some special ones and just say, "Hey, I didn't have really special ones from 400 to 652, but."
Right. Yeah.
But then I had a streak like between 700 and 750. I had 3 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That might work for a book.
Yeah.
So Peter said he's got more questions.
Yeah.
He hasn't spoken in a while.
Yeah.
And Peter gets upset when he doesn't get to speak for a while.
We've had guests where I've literally not been able to talk at all, and that really challenges me. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about your business and the nuts and bolts, so to speak, of it. What's kind of the range of products that you make that you would potentially ship across the country?
Okay. Well, I've been making a lot of tables, and one of the things that I'm really liking is every time I make a table, I'm figuring out a little bit better way to do it. So I do a lot of tables. I do tables with drawers, without drawers. I do little tiny tables. I do bigger tables.
I'm sorry to interrupt. When I hear a table, I immediately think of a full-size kitchen table. It sounds like you do a lot of varieties.
Yeah, I don't usually do kitchen-size tables. The max, my drum sander, the max width I can put through there is 24 inches. I can do bigger tables. It's just a different process. So a lot of my tables might be 8 inches by 10 inches, like a display table, or maybe today I was working on one that's 17 inches round. You know, I do round, I do oval, lots of different woods. I like to really highlight wormholes and striking grain, interesting knots and stuff. You know, I don't want just a plain looking table. I want something that catches the eye. So do that. I do a lot of home goods. You know, I do drink coasters. I do wooden like pencil boxes or containers for putting your spatulas in on your counter. I make spatulas. I do cutting boards, pizza peels, you know, just a lot of different little things. I do these rustic shelves with little hooks that are doggy bottoms. Mm-hmm. And so it's like a leash hook, you know, you can hang the leash over the doggy tail. So yeah, right now that's kind of about it. I do have some other ideas kind of swirling around in my brain that haven't actually gotten down on paper yet, but
before,
yeah,
I was just going to say, before you had done, if I remember correctly, also some like liturgical crosses and things like that for some denominations that, you know, carry in crosses and whatnot. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, that's actually probably 70% of my work. I'm the only person that produces that for a company here in Maine that ships internationally. So I'm very, very busy from September until April with their work. And then I still do their work all year long, but the really heavy load is for Christmas and Easter. So I am doing that, and that really is where I learned woodworking. And it's really valuable to have, you know, I've made hundreds of these different products because I've been doing it for, you know, now since 2006, I think we started working for them. So it teaches you a lot about persistence and sanding and, you know, routing, you know, the things that you do over and over again. So I am still doing that.
Well, very good. Well, we're about to take a break. When we come back, I want you to walk me through sort of a typical day in the shop. So we will take a break and be right back. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter. We have Doug with me, and we have Tracy zooming in from Maine, guarded by her guard dog Mary. And she was telling us about her woodworking business. And the final thought I left her was, tell us about a typical day in the wood shop. When do you get there? How many projects will you either partly complete or totally complete? Sort of run me through a day.
Okay. Well, I try to be out there. Well, I start my day at 8, but I always start my day at 8 in the office because I'm the only one. So I do the ordering and the bill paying and all of that. So I try and hit the office, which is in my house, at 8. And then I need to be out there by 8:15. And every week I do maintenance, empty my dust collection and take care of, there's just various maintenance things that need to be done to keep the tools good. And I work steady until I stop at 10:30 and I come in for coffee and put my feet on a heating pad because in the winter especially, I have a concrete shop and it's cold, my feet get cold, but I usually am in the shop until I try not to work past 5, and I have a couple rules. I don't table saw in the afternoon. It's a little bit risky work, and you're a little bit tireder, so I try not to do anything complicated routing or table sawing much after maybe 1:30 or 2. So,
and you count and check your fingers every afternoon. You count and check your fingers, right? Make sure you have 10.
Yeah, 10-finger Tracy. I need to say 10-finger Tracy. Yeah. So, I tend to run so I have the liturgical product that I make for the company. I run them in batches of 10. So the first day I pull all the rough lumber, cut it to length, run it through the table saw, glue up what needs to be glued up, get it to where I can get it onto the CNC. And so I do that with all 10. I pull all the lumber for the 10 products, cut, and just run it like that. It's just faster. And I just run it all the way through into hand sanding and into the spray room. And then, it has to be sprayed, brought out and sanded, put back in and sprayed, brought out and rubbed out, and then packed. You have to pack it with hardware. Each product has kind of a different set of rules. And like I say, I've been doing it since 2006. So, it's like I could do it in my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to put on maybe a book or a sermon or something like that when I'm doing that kind of work because I don't have to think. And so it keeps my mind active. I do a lot of books on tape and stuff. The other part of my work is the creative process, and I can't listen to a book. I put music on because I'm thinking, I might be planning out, when you make a table, this is the size of my top. Now I need to make sure that my base fits underneath my top. And so doing the math, that kind of stuff I tend to do, like I'll do a table, or like this week I'm doing a pair of tables, a match set with drawers, and I'll run those through. I'll do the one, like the top for one, the top for the other. The legs, when you do the legs, you have to run the mortises and the tenons, and I'll run them in batches. Next week I'm getting ready. I have product in a store here, and it opens on May 6th. So next week is, today's the day when I'll make all my little hand spatulas that I'm going to stock my shelves. Okay, tomorrow I'll make all my cutting boards. So I do find that it helps to do a few of something and run them through together. I think it's more efficient than just saying, okay, I'll do a pizza peel. Now I'll make a spatula. Okay, now I'll go make a table. It's like your brain is just going too many different directions.
Do you outsource any of your work?
No.
Or have an employee?
No. Well, my dog.
Yeah. Well,
you're Mary's employee because she's your manager.
I thought she was your foreman.
Oh, it's just
yeah.
Nobody else. And I'm really protective of who I let come in the shop, partly because of safety. There's a lot of tools in there that somebody could just inadvertently hurt themselves. In fact, the other day, someone was in the shop who shall remain unnamed. It's my brother-in-law, one of my brother-in-laws, and he was being helpful, and he was talking. He said, "Oh, you got a little burn on this wood. I wonder if you got a nick on your table saw blade." And he walked over to the table saw, and he put his hand on the blade, and I just looked at him and I said, "I know you're not going to do that without that unplugged." Oh yeah, oh, I'm going to unplug it, But it's that kind of thing where, someone who's not doing it all day, every day might not think, you don't put your hand on a blade if the unit's plugged in, even if you're not near the power switch, because if it's not
then you come away with 9 fingers.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, boy, you can't stress that safety enough. I've got a couple more questions that I've been wondering. One is, as a business owner, do you ever find that you can actually turn the thinking of your business off, or are you pretty much like on all the time? You're driving down the road, you see some interesting lumber, gets you thinking about, I wonder where that would fit well, or you're in town and you've got a creative idea going in your head, and you're writing in a journal. I found a lot of entrepreneurs find they're like going all the time whether they want to or not.
Yeah. Well, I do have the ability to shut it down. Like when I'm done in the shop and I want to go out and I want to play in the yard because I love digging in the dirt, I don't think about the shop very much. But I actually, if I have a couple places that I drive that are about an hour away and I'm going there every week or so, I actually use that time to think about, like I say, I wanted to have a different drawer slide system for my drawers. And that fills that's a nice way to fill some time. I love what I do. I love the creative thought process. But I do make a point when I come in at the end of the day and I'm done, I try really hard not to think about it. Especially not to worry like, okay, I've got 10 shafts to be done and they're going to be picked up on the 6th, and I try not to do that because it's not helpful. It doesn't help anything.
Right. I'm going to hold on the last question. Doug is going to ask you a question right before the break here. If you'd like to.
Okay. This is a question that popped up. You said you like to listen to books on tape. Is there a book, because it's on tape, that you found exciting and like to listen to while you're working in the shop?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of David Rosenfeld. He writes lawyer books and mystery books, and there's always a golden retriever in there. And so I really like his stuff. I've got most of his stuff. I give that a listen because you got to figure out what the bad guy's doing. And I really like a lot of C.S. Lewis's. I can't listen to his heavy stuff in the shop, but he wrote a space trilogy, and he's got a couple other. I like to listen to those books I've already heard, so that I don't have to be so completely focused. Right now, though, I am listening to a new David Rosenfeld book. So yeah.
Have you read some books before and say, wow, it kind of sounds a lot different when this guy reads it? Or
the guy that reads it, in fact, so I have Audible, which is a club or whatever. You can listen before you buy, and I have not bought some stuff just because the voice drove me nuts. But the guy that reads, I can't remember Fred Grover or something, that reads this series that I'm listening to right now. He's got a great voice, and he's able to, differentiate for male and female. He does a really good job. Yeah.
So when we get back, Peter's going to ask this all-important question in our last segment. I can hardly wait.
And when I do, then we'll all know what it is. When we come right back. Hi, I'm Peter from Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching, and as you know, I do help people with drug and alcohol recovery issues. I love to help people get better, but I also offer a variety of other services, including regular life coaching services. I've helped several people write and finish a book. I've helped a doctor that was in medical school graduate and then get into a residency. And I also actually have quite a background in mathematics, and I do some math tutoring for the GED as well as the ASVAB for those that are thinking about a career in the military. So my contact information is on the screen. Please send me an email or a text, and we can talk about some of these services and how I can help. That's Peter Grigg at Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter. Doug is still there manning a clipboard, and we have Tracy from Maine. Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, I have letting my clipboard rest in the middle.
Let's be lucky the guest isn't sitting there this time, so you can rest your hands.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's still Tracy's chair, you know.
I know, but she'll be floating. She'll be floating.
And when she's here, we have a pillow for her. She's the only guest I ever have gotten a pillow to sit on.
She's special. When we communicated, you had mentioned something about basically wrestling with new technology. Was there a particular battle that's going on? I know for a lot of us old farts, picking up new technology can be a real ordeal. What was going on with that?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I was headed to Florida with my dog. And so the day the dog got locked in the car, that was my car key fob. And then I spent the night with some friends. And the next day, I was headed from 4 Oaks to Jacksonville. And it should have been about 5.5 hour drive. And the wind was so bad, it took me almost 9 hours. Wow. And on the way, my phone would not charge. I couldn't get it to charge off of my car, and my battery almost died. Right, and I used the GPS on my phone to go to where I'm going, and so I got to the hotel like a minute before my phone died. So when I got into the hotel and I got all settled, I'm like, what am I going to do? So I spent 30 minutes chasing all around Florida to find. Because I had U.S. Cell, to find U.S. Cellular dealer there who I could take my phone to and figure out what's going on. Why won't my phone charge? I tried it in the hotel. I couldn't get it. It wouldn't charge. And U.S. Cellular is not represented in Florida, so it was impossible. So I thought, well, I guess I'll email my friends who were, because I had another 7 hours drive, and tell them what's going on. And so I went into my email. And my email account said, you can no longer send or receive emails because you have exceeded your limit. What am I going to do? So I had my iPad, and I thought, iPad Apple has an iCloud thing. So I went into that email, and I sent my friend a message, and I said, this is what's going on. The phone's dead. I can't email. I don't know what I'm going to do. I hope I see you tomorrow. And so I actually had to use, in order to get to her house, I had to use a map. I had to get a map out and use a map.
So where did you find a map? Do they sell them anymore?
Did you
I happened to have one with me. Unbelievable.
Wow.
I thought she broke into a museum or something and stole one.
I'm telling you, I couldn't believe it. So I pull into it's Christmas Eve. I arrive at Christmas Eve at my friend's house. I walk in the door and they're, hi, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good except for technology. And my friend, Rex, the husband, says, oh, really? And he takes my phone and he walks over and plugs it into the wall and he said, oh, it's charging. It's fine. It's charging. I don't know what the problem is. It's charging. He just looked at it and it behaved. And then within like 2 seconds, he figured out what was the matter with my email account and he fixed that. So now I'm back in Maine, and one night I'm watching something on my iPad or doing something on my iPad, and all of a sudden my iPad gives this really strange like a weird picture of a lightning bolt and a plug-in thing, and it won't charge, it won't charge, it won't charge. Couldn't get it. I tried I thought, learn my lesson. Maybe the plug at the hotel didn't work and my car plug didn't work. I tried several plugs in the house, wouldn't start, wouldn't work. Well, I was in a busy season, so I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to not be on my iPad, which, I call my sister and I go on Facebook. I don't really use it and I take pictures. And so it was about a month before I could actually find a place close enough to drive to, because everything's so far away, where I take my iPad in. So I took my iPad into this really nice gentleman, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'll look at it, and I'll plug it in. I'll look at it overnight, and I'll give you a call tomorrow." And the next day he called me. He said, "It's fine. I plugged it in and it charged." So when I went to pick it up, of course he wouldn't charge me anything because he said I didn't do anything. I said, "Well, maybe it's my plug." Because you used your plug, and he said, "Well, let me see your plug." So he took my plug that would not work at my house in like 5 different plugs, and he plugged it in. And he said, "No, it's fine. It's charging." So I just think that I have this how some people every watch they wear dies. Have you ever known anybody?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I
then
got those bad buys.
Trace, tell us your website address.
It's Tracy's Tiny Tables.
Very good.
You can see it below here.
Yeah, we'll have it on the screen. We have to wrap up. Thank you. You've been a marvelous, marvelous guest. Please
marvelous.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon so you know when we've uploaded another episode. And good night.